Welcome to Creating Stellar Presentations, part of the video series for CWEA speakers. My name is Jeff Hurt, and I'll be your presenter during this presentation. First off, I want to thank you for your involvement and participation. Know that you have a choice. You could be watching something else, doing some work, and you've chosen instead to watch this video. Here's what I want to talk about. We're going to talk about who your presentation is actually for. We're going to describe the difference between a presentation and a report. And we're going to discuss the steps to identify critical content to cover, really looking at the session design of your presentation. So why would this be important to you? What's in it for you? Well, the last thing we want is your presentation to be like gum stuck on the bottom of the shoes for the attendees. You know how it is when you step on warm gum on a hot day and it just gets stuck there and it's just kind of annoying. Well, some presentations that we set through are like that. But we do want your presentation to have a stickiness, the right kind of stickiness, where it sticks in people's minds in the right way so that they remember it and apply it on the job. So here's my first question for you. Is there a difference between a report and a presentation? Is there a difference between a report and a presentation? Think about that for a second. Is there a difference? And if there is, what is it? What do you think? Well, the challenge is, so often today, we design presentations based on report. Reports are exhaustive, they're written, they emphasize accuracy, they document facts and figures. They're topical, they're traditionally top-down, they communicate directly. And presentations are explanatory, they unfold, they're oral delivery, and they engage. They're supposed to be persuasive and motivating, and they alternate between fact and story, and they communicate credibly. Reports should be distributed, and presentations presented. Documents often masquerade as presentations. It's one of the biggest challenges we have is we use presentation software like PowerPoint or Keynote to design reports, and then we pick up those reports and think they should be presented. Documents do not need to be projected for a read-along. Now, I'm going to stress something here. When it comes to learning, you have a dual activity center in your brain. You can hear and see at the same time. And when those dual centers don't line up, in other words, if I put a bunch of words up on the screen and I never read them to you, and you're looking at them, you're going to try to read those words and listen to me at the same time. So when you do put words on slides, it is important that you read them first and then talk about them. But what I'm referring to here, documents not to be projected for a read-along, is oftentimes we take reports and we take really fine print. We may put 200, 300 words on a slide and project it on a screen and then tell people to read through it and underline certain things in the report. So here's my next question for you. It's a critical one. Who is the presentation for? Who is your presentation for? I want you to think about that. It's the audience. It's for them. The presentation is not for the speaker. It is for the audience. It's for the learner. I like to call the audience the learner. Your job as a presenter is to be a tuning fork, to adjust your presentation to the frequency of your audience. Your job is to fine-tune your message to your audience's needs. When you do that, the audience will say something along these lines. That really resonated with me. Now they may walk out and say, that was great. I laughed, I cried, I got some tips. But what you want is more than tips. You want something that causes attitude, behavior, and skill change. Just giving them a bunch of tips does not lead to any attitude, behavior, and skill change. We want to move from being presenter-centric to learner-centric. Here's what many presenters do. They use the used car salesman approach. It's all about us. Why we're great. Why we're the best. Customers love us. Let's talk more about us. In your presentation, you as the expert, you as the speaker, you as a presenter, you are not the hero. The selfish approach is all about us. The audience is the hero. Now think about this for a second. You are there for them. They are not there for you. The audience is your hero. When you put them at the center of the action and you make it all about them and you design their presentation all about them, And you remember that your success is dependent on them, not the other way around. Their success is not dependent upon you. You need them. Your role is that of a mentor. Your audience will help you do the heavy lifting to help you reach your objectives, your learning outcomes. What will you do to make sure your presentation is focused on your audience? Think about that for a second. What will you do to make sure that the presentation that you're giving is focused on your audience and not on yourself? What will you do to make sure your presentation is focused on your audience? Well, there's three areas of effective presentations. Three areas of effective presentations. There's the content, there's the visuals, and there's the delivery. We're going to look at the content. We're going to focus on the content in this presentation. Many people use the kitchen sink approach for delivering a presentation. They get on the internet, they find everything they can about their topic, they save it in folders, they put it all together, and they use the kitchen sink method. They identify the content, and they identify too much content, and it overwhelms them. There's too much information, and they have a hard time figuring out where they should go with their presentation because there's too much information and too little time. What you need to do is you start with this. You start at the end of your presentation. What is it you want the audience to remember when they leave your presentation? And what big three things? Maybe it's the steps to a certain process. Maybe it's how to compare and contrast. Maybe it's how to discuss. Maybe it's how to apply. Maybe it's how to do more effective research. Maybe it's how to do better lab draws. One of those type things. Those can be your three things. So you've got to start with your topic, your issue, your challenge. What are the three things you want them to remember about that topic? Then you build the scaffolding. You build the presentation around those three big things. You provide the supporting ideas with those three big things. And you include stories. You find places where you can include stories. You can include analogies, metaphors, things for them to hook your content. And then you plan time for discussion every 10 to 15 minutes. Dr. John Medina would tell you that your attention span is 10 minutes long. So that's the critical way to deliver content for your presentation and how to design your presentation. Remember, you start with three things you want the audience to remember. You build your content around that, the supporting ideas, include stories, and then plan for discussion. And when I say discussion, I'm talking about audience engagement, audience interactivity every 10 to 15 minutes. My name is Jeff Hurt. Thanks a lot for participating in How to Become a Stellar Presenter.